So today I am filming I don't know if it's called the alphabet soup or the N is for Novella tag, but the one with all the N's in it. I'm filming that tag today. I was tagged by Kayla and Ramsey. I'll leave both of their channels down in the description if you want to go check them out. And yeah, let's just jump right into it because there's a bunch of questions. So the first question is, N is for Novella. Name the last good one you read. I don't know if it was necessarily the last one I read, but it's my favorite one, so I'm going to talk about it. And that is The Test by Sylvain Novelle. It's a novella, so I can't really say too much about it, but basically this guy is taking the British citizenship test and it gets weird. So yeah, I recommend you check it out if you like weird books because it was really good. Question 2 is N is for Neighbors, a book that involved neighbors. And I'm going to say for that one, Dry by Neil and Jared Schusterman. 2 of the main characters that you're following are neighbors. So there you go. One of them is like the main character of the book, and the second one is the neighbor who his family is very prepared for disaster. I don't remember what you call those people, but they have like a fallout shelter and like their house is made like completely hooked up to generators and they have extra water and food stored away. Like, what do you call those people? I don't remember, but that's what they are. Question 3 is N is for Name, and it's an author whose first and or last name starts with the letter N. And for that, I'm going to say Neil Schusterman because I was just talking about Dry and I really liked that book. And although I can't really say much about him as an author in general because Dry is the only thing by him I have read, I've heard pretty much nothing but good things about the Arc of the Scythe trilogy and I can't wait to read it. So that's my answer for that one. Question 4 is N is for Nuptials, a work of fiction that didn't suck about a wedding. And although this isn't technically about a wedding, I will take any excuse to talk about this book because I love it so much. And that is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Like I said, it's not necessarily about a wedding, but the whole premise of it revolves around a marriage. So there's 2 sisters, and one of them the older one was raised and kind of like trained to, when she came of age, to marry the god king of a rival kingdom. And at the last second, the father decides to switch and send the other sister. And she has no idea what she's getting into. She wasn't trained for this. She doesn't know how to act. She doesn't know how to behave. And then the story goes from there. So like the marriage aspect of it is the beginning of the book. And then the rest of the book is just amazing. So you should read it. Number 5 is N is for Not Aging Well, a book that you like less than when you read it. And this one, I didn't particularly love it when I read it, but the more I think about it, like every time I think about it, I'm like, wow, I hated that book. And that is Pandora's Daughter by Iris Johansen. The main issue I had with this book is that the 2 main characters who do in this book engage in a sexual relationship constantly refer back to the fact that when he was 23 and she was 15, like, they wanted each other back then, and now they're just acting on the feelings that they had back then. And I'm like, that's gross. I mean, technically in the grand scheme of things, it's only 8 years. So when you're an adult, that's not really that big of a deal. But when the girl is 15, that's gross. And I didn't like it. And that's all I can remember when I think of this book. And it just skews me out. I don't like it. And I don't like this book. And I don't like thinking about this book. And I'm surprised that I haven't gotten rid of this book yet. 6. This is a fun one. It's N is for Ends. And it's a book with a lot of N's in the title. And I was looking through my bookshelves and everything. And I was like, I don't know. Like all of these books have 1 or 2 N's in the title. And I never thought it would be so hard to find a book with a lot of N's because N is just such a common letter. But then I happened upon an old book from college. It was technically a textbook for one of the classes that I took, and it has 9 N's in the title. So I don't know if this is breaking the rules. I don't know if it was technically supposed to be like a fiction book or like a fun book or whatever, but we're going textbook for this one. And that is Inequality, Poverty, and Neoliberal Governance, Activist Ethnography in the Homeless Sheltering Industry. That's 9 N's, so winner. Number 7 is N is for Not Sure, a book you keep going back and forth on whether you want to read or not. And for me, that is the Witcher series. It's getting a lot of buzz right now because of the TV show that just came out. And a lot of people are talking about it. And I feel like people either, I don't know, not necessarily like love it or hate it, but some people, like the people that love it really, really love it, and then everyone else is just kind of like, eh. So I keep going back and forth because some of the booktubers that I really like trust their opinion really love that series. But then I don't know, like, and especially since I tried to watch the TV show, I watched the first episode and I was just not really into it. And I know a lot of people said you needed to get farther than that in order to really like start enjoying it. But yeah, so I don't know if I want to pick up The Last Wish or not. Yeah, I don't know. That's my answer for that one. The next one is N is for nitpick, and it's just something that bothers you in books. And for me, this is it's kind of like I guess you'd call it a trope. I guess it's a trope. When someone is like brand new at something, but they're great at it. And an example that I have of this is actually Uprooted by Naomi Novik. One of the things that drives me crazy about that book is this girl, the main character, she didn't know she had magic, which you find that out early in the book. It's not a spoiler. She didn't like realize that she had magic. She didn't know she had magic in her. And then as soon as she discovers it, oh, whoops, I just happened into the spell that was perfect for this situation. I can't stand that. It drives me crazy. So anything like that, like, oh, this is the first time I've ever done this, but I'm so good at it already. Like, oh, I'm just lucky. I hate that. Like, that is just something in books that I just don't like. And I don't even necessarily know if that's a nitpick or like a serious problem, but that's my answer. Number 9 is N is for Next to Nothing, a book that you don't remember, like that you read as an adult, but you don't remember anything about. And for me, this is an easy answer. It's The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. I read this book not even that long ago, and I can't tell you the first thing about it. All I remember is that I didn't like the main character, and I hated the book. So I'm pretty sure it was one of my worst, like on my worst 3 books of 2019 list, because I just didn't like it. And I can't tell you why, because I don't remember anything about it. Okay, the next one is kind of a fun one, and I had to do a little bit of research, but it's N is for New Zealand, a book or writer you'd like to read from there. And so I didn't really know any authors from New Zealand, so I kind of, like, I had to do a little bit of research. And I found Elizabeth Knox, and she wrote the Dream Hunter Duet, and that is a young adult series. It's kind of like an alternate reality New Zealand, and it's a fantasy. Like, it takes place in an alternate reality New Zealand where there's no indigenous people, and then there's something about dream hunters, and like dream hunting is basically like art or writing or like some sort of like an art form in our world. They have dream hunting. So I don't know. I just read a quick synopsis of it. I don't know if that's even accurate, but while I was reading it, it sounded really interesting. So yeah, it's a young adult duet by Elizabeth Knox, who is a New Zealand author. The next one is N is for Nodding Off, an unbearably boring book. And this one is a little bit controversial, I'm sure, because a lot of people love this book. I hated this book. And that is Circe by Madeline Miller. I was so bored with that book. You're just following this lady on an island. She's not doing anything. She's like, I'm here, inner monologue. I'm gonna feed my animals. I'm here, inner monologue. I'm gonna feed my animals again. And I enjoyed the ending, like the very ending of the book, but for the most part, it just like was not for me. I did not enjoy it. It was just slow and nothing happened. And that actually could go for the next to nothing question too, because really I don't remember anything about that book except I didn't like it, and she fed her animals a lot. Okay, and then we have N is for next, and it's what are you planning on reading next? I don't really have anything in mind necessarily to read next, but a book that I keep coming back to and keep thinking about is Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. I've been recommended this book by a couple people. Actually, Kayla, who tagged me in this tag. Is that how you say that? I always feel stupid saying that, but the person that tagged me in the tag, Kayla actually recommended that book. She had it in one of her videos, and then she told me that I would probably really enjoy it. Like, she thinks I would really enjoy it. So yeah, I really want to get to that. I don't have a copy of it yet, but like, it's one of those books that just keeps coming to the forefront of my mind every time I'm like, oh, what am I gonna read? Like, what do I want to read? What am I in the mood for? So I think sooner rather than later, I'm going to get my hands on a copy of that and hopefully read that. So that was the last question. And then like 13 is just tag people. And I feel like everyone I would normally tag has already been tagged to do this video. So I'm just gonna say you are tagged. Whoever you are, if you make videos, you're tagged to do this video. If you do decide to do this video, feel free to say that I tagged you and let me know that you made it and I will watch it. And yeah, okay, so that's it for this tag. It was the alphabet soup or the N is for Novella tag or whatever it's called. And I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in the next one. Bye.